Hello. I've been crying, so heads up. I can tell that Roots to Home is going to be a very emotional and vulnerable series. Of course. And I knew it would be, but I didn't know that it was going to be this emotional and this soon. So, hi. Welcome to Roots to Home. This is a series where um, really the whole point of the series, like while it's providing a model of like healing ancestral wounds, it's really me just documenting me healing my ancestral wounds. And because I'm a teacher by trade, that is like a big part of my heart. The best way that I know how to model is by doing. You do the thing and people learn from you. That's why let me compose myself for a second. That is why children experience trauma, right? They don't know why the adults around them are doing the things that they do. This part is not backed exactly by like a scientist or a psychologist. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I invite other people to be a part of this conversation who have that knowledge, because I don't and cannot have it alone. If you've listened to my podcast, Erotic Renaissance, you will have heard that I am not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I have learned that because I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect. I did that for years. So I am realizing that I have ancestral wounds that it's not that I need to heal them, it's that I want to. So I want to spend my time healing these things. And yes, it will benefit me greatly because I will have healed, and that is something that feels the best to me, is healing those things. And my favorite way to heal myself is through conversation and through forgiveness. And forgiveness is probably one of the most beautiful things that I can imagine. It feels like, okay, like if you were given your dream house and nothing came with you unless you chose to bring it. If I moved across the country, what would I absolutely desire to bring with me? And I get the whole new life there. I can bring people with me if I want. I can bring things, but I get a whole new start. That, to me, is such a freeing feeling, because nothing feels better than to just feel new and clean and refreshed, and like none of the stuff in the past matters anymore. And to truly forgive somebody and not hold resentment for the things that they did, that is a beautiful thing that I'm capable of. And I love that about myself. Because I believe that people want to be good. I believe that they want to be loved. And that they want to love. Because why wouldn't you? Oh my God, it feels so good to love other people. My God. Feels so good. I think that's why we love to watch it so much, right? I don't know, but like I feel like all I want to do is watch love movies. And maybe that's me. Maybe that part is just me. I just like watching movies that like make me feel happy, and I'm very sensitive. So I take on energy of things I watch like very easily. And so I think I like watching happy things and joyful things. Um, so healing ancestral wounds is important to me. It will feel really good to me to get to do those things, to work on those things, and then teach others how to do that also through example. Because not that everybody has to do this or has to do this my way. Nobody has to do this my way. In fact, you should do this whatever way you think is the most comfortable and the most satisfying and the most joyful. If you saw my last episode, I said something really similar about butter. So you should do this how it feels good to you if you want to do this thing. And I think it will be really fulfilling, and somebody should document this, either somebody else doing it or me or all of us, I don't know. But hi, thanks for being here and for watching this video and for probably listening to me cry for a really long time. Like I was mentioning, I think Roots to Home, which is this series, is going to be a really emotional series for me. I cried in the first episode because I had a big realization about what home tastes like and my father. So if you haven't seen that episode, I've mentioned it 3 times. So you're probably going to feel like you watched it already, but if you would like to actually watch it, it is here as well. It is the first episode of Roots to Home. So if you are a stickler for wanting all the previous information before the next, then you probably have already watched it. So I hope you enjoyed it. This episode, I'll be by myself. And I think that's important because there should be reflection, right? So probably between every episode, I don't know exactly how to structure this just yet. I'll probably spend more time by myself than with other people, just like I do with a lot of my creative projects. And that seems right because a lot of my creative projects center around me reflecting on something. So here we go. This is me reflecting and healing ancestral wounds. Today, I'm really sitting with my grandmother's energy, which is... See, we're starting. I warned you. Which is an energy that I encountered in the Roots episode as well. If you saw that episode, she basically raised me, so I'm spending time with her energy today, and we are planting, which is something that I wouldn't say that I do often. It's something that I'm learning to really enjoy because it's really meditative, and I will put it off unless I record it. So thank you for helping me plant, because I think spending time by myself feels really scary sometimes, and I know where that comes from. I'll probably talk about that in a future episode. It's something that's probably going to be a little too vulnerable for me right now. So we'll hold on to that. Since 2021, I have grown a lot and have started enjoying time by myself. But my first instinct, I would say, is that I seek company from another person. It's more comfortable. So today we have tea. We have a rose, a delightful rose. This is from one of my listeners. Somebody sent me money so that I could get roses, you guys. Like, how wonderful is that? And how much does that person already know how much roses mean to me? So I I have been trying to treat myself like my own family and my own lover. So I have been working really hard at, I wouldn't say working really hard, it's been really enjoyable actually, but doing my love language that I would give to somebody else to me. So, for example, I like leave little gifts for myself around the house and write notes to myself and stick them on random places so that I find them later. And I learned this from my mother. You'll probably hear about her a lot in this series. My mother is the most loving person I've ever met. To the point that, and this is where I've inherited this wound. I've inherited this from my mother. She loves so much that she sacrifices herself, like, and that is also not a good thing. And I have been learning through 2021 to stop sacrificing myself for loving other people. You don't need to sacrifice yourself. There's always a middle ground. So if the person is worth compromising with, you compromise. If the person is someone who is shown to not put you in a place of value in their life, you do not need to compromise with them, and you can let them go. And that is something that I'm learning today. Also, I spent the morning going through some things and releasing things, which is hard for me, like letting go of like things because they have tangible emotional meaning to them. So I'm slowly working on that. What we are going to be doing today is I have some succulents because I love cacti because I can keep them alive. They are resilient and beautiful and lovely. They take so many shapes and sizes. They are probably my favorite plant. And then, of course, roses. I would love a desert rose garden. That is like what I imagine as like my future love life with myself, right? I give myself my dream garden. I give myself my dream everything, first of all. And I give myself my dream rose garden, which would be delightfully hot, like to where I could sit on the ground and I feel like I'm baking. I love the heat. I would have succulents everywhere and beautiful crystals and rocks and rose bushes. Oh my god, rose bushes that are tangly and they go up and they have all kinds of roses. Like, oh god, that is like something that I would love to have one day. So it's on the list next to library full of crystals and books and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. I probably have said that so many times now. Okay, so I have succulents here, and they all had messages on them. Oh, this one, I remember. So I have a lot of succulents actually. I have these beautiful two succulents. I don't even know what any of these are called, and all of the plant people, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm learning how to be a good plant mommy, and I'm working on it. So I have these, and then I have this little lovely item that I acquired. Literally, somebody just threw it outside, and it has this really tight, like, constricting plastic thing around it. So I don't know, I'm probably gonna have to plant that outside because I don't think I have a plant pot big enough. So I think that one is actually gonna go outside, and I think I know the perfect spot. So this is just here to just join us for now. Okay, so I have tea. I'm gonna probably spend time thinking about my grandmother because she's on my mind today. Like every single time I bring her up, I like start tearing up. So I think I'll tell you why. Outside on my patio, I have a lantern. And my sister, she came to California. She wasn't able to make it for my grandmother's funeral. And so we had our own little ceremony for her. And so my sister came down. She lives in Vegas. you'll meet her on this series as well, of course. And we did a little like ceremony with a candle and had a lantern, and we left it on my patio. So today, I think we are going to plant a succulent in there. I have been replacing candles periodically and burning them in her memory. And it's time to do something different. It's time for life to be in there. So, we're gonna plant a succulent. Me trying to stop myself from crying is laughing randomly. I noticed that. So, I'm like learning so much about myself through all of this like process. It's really interesting. Also, I'm sorry if I hit the mic. It's a little windy out here. And it is chilly but refreshing at the same time, so I'm refusing to do anything different. To follow through my roots of my ancestry that is Hispanic, I've prepared tea for her as well. So I'm having tea with her today. And let's plant a succulent. So I have, this is the lantern. Oh my god, there's like a baby snail in there. Oh my god, how cute. Oh, it lives there and it's gonna stay there. I am not moving that poor sweet baby snail. That is probably the sweetest thing. If my abuela sees this episode, she would hate that I am keeping this little snail. They always eat her plants, which they do, because I have had some succulents suffer. But yeah, she would be like, don't keep that. It might not be in there anymore. I don't know. Is it just the shell? Yeah, it's just the shell. It's like a little baby snail shell. How cute. All right. We don't need that in this episode, but it might stay, because that was just the cutest thing that I've probably seen in a while. Is the tiniest little snail shell. Okay, these crystals have been on this lantern for quite some time, and this one's an opal. Look at this. Oh, stunning. And then this one is something tears. And they're known for being connected to Native American and the Trail of Tears. And so it's a beautiful like ancestry stone. So I've been keeping these with the altar. And I have rosemary in here and rose petals that have been in here with like the candles. So I have those there. We need to clean off this poor little thing. So I think I'm going to talk about my favorite memories of her while I do this. It might be too emotional, but I like a challenge. So my grandmother, she would take me shopping with her a lot. She loved to go shopping. And she would just buy us gifts because I think it was hard for her to express her emotions. It was hard for her to say that she loved you. So, and maybe that's why my mother is the way that she is. My mother will really want to express you and make sure that you know without a shadow of a doubt that she loves you. Like, I know my mom loves me so much. See? Ooh, my grandmother. Let's get back on track, please. I don't need to cry about 2 people today. That's enough. So, she would take us shopping with her, and I think it was really hard for her to just like tell you and express it in words. But I knew that she loved me. Like, it's not like I didn't know. But I'm glad that my mother taught me the importance of the expressing yourself in words, because that was important to me. So my grandma Valerie, she would take us to the store with her. She loved Kohl's. Oh my God. Please let me know if you spent probably most 80% of your youth looking in the teen area at Kohl's. Please let me know, because that is exactly what I did. Because I would go with my grandmother, and she would just like want to buy you things, and so we had to learn to say like, oh no, like you don't need to do that, like you don't need to do that, because I think like she was worried. I think maybe we're just all worried about this, or maybe this is me identifying an ancestral wound, is I am so worried that people don't know that I love them. It is probably like the most scariest thing, is like, oh my God, what if this person dies and they don't know that how much I loved them? Like, that is like, God, that's the most painful thing to me. That's the most painful thing I can imagine. It's like someone in this world not knowing how much I love them. Wow, I've never verbalized that before, and I just learned something new about myself. That is like the scariest thing I can imagine. So, I I think that it was really hard for her to express her emotions, so she would replace it with like gifts. And quality time was something she was really, really good at. Oh my God, probably the queen of quality time. She would just like come up with interesting things for us to do, like to spend time together. Like, so we watched TV a lot together, and she we would watch Golden Girls together. If you read my blog post that I posted, the Women Within blog post, I talked about this there. But we would watch the Golden Girls, which was, if you don't know, go watch it. It's probably one of my most nostalgic things that I will watch, is the Golden Girls. So it's about these 4 women in their golden years, and they live together in Florida. And oh my God, whoa, it makes so much sense that I'm doing this right here. So in my patio, I call it the lanai, and I learned that word from Golden Girls, which is the show that I watched with her. So my God, we would watch Golden Girls and eat cheesecake at the moments when, oh my God, when they would talk about something emotional, they would go get the cheesecake, or they'd go get the chocolate cake, or some dessert, and they'd sit at the table and they'd tell the story, and talk or reminisce, or like deal with emotions. And wow, that show was so good. It really taught me about friendship. And how each of them have their own flaws. Like, you watch each of them do like something like potentially awful, right? But you still love that character. They're not ruined for you. Like, they have flaws, and they're not like normal sitcoms where they're like caricatures. They're caricatures of flaws, right? Like, it has to be like over the top. Like, what was nice about the Golden Girls is it was human. Their flaws were human. I think that's what made that show special to me. Is like, I learned, even though it was really hard for me to accept, that mistakes were normal and human, that's where I learned that. I just like, even though I didn't consciously accept it for myself, I understood that. So like, as people in my life made terrible mistakes or did something that was like really harmful, I didn't like cut them off, because I realized that they're a human being and they're making mistakes. And I think that's, whoa, full circle, that's where I learned forgiveness, because they would forgive each other, and then it would be like, but they would bring it up on occasion as well. Like, you know, I can remember like a few moments where they might have like brought it up, but like overall, like they were forgiven. But even then, that's a human. Like, it is hard to forgive and have like that thing completely be gone all of a sudden. I think it goes away in pieces. Because if you I think you give somebody a new slate and you let them, maybe, okay, let me stick with me here. I'm gonna theorize about forgiveness. I don't know if this will end up in the final cut of this, but if it does, let's theorize about forgiveness while I actually do something physical. So I think that forgiveness is like, you move some things. Okay, my thought is that forgiveness is like, here is this clean slate. I trust Oh, do I have to use my hands? Oh, thanks. Okay. So I think that forgiveness is like, I give you a clean slate because I trust you. I trust that you say what is true, that you realized a mistake and you took time and you reflected and you grew, and that if it starts to come up again, you're going to recognize it and we'll talk about it. And it won't be harmful like maybe it was in the past. I think that's like what forgiveness is. And it takes work on both sides afterwards. So it doesn't just stop with oh, I forgive you. You need to check each other, but not like check each other like aggressively. Like, I think just like I have a job to do just like this other person has a job to do. So let's say that this person is like, hey, like, I'm really sorry for those things that I did. I apologize. Then I accept them and I give them a clean slate. I need to also tell them when they are doing something to hurt me, just like they need to make an effort to not do that thing again, right? Because I recently learned that I was allowing people to really cause me a lot of pain for far too long and just put up with it because that's what my mother did. And because I think the mentality that I was sitting in was like, well, like, I don't deserve better. Like, I haven't ever been treated better, so maybe this is like as good as it gets. That as good as it gets mentality, right? I've talked about that on something else. Oh, episode 3 of Erotic Renaissance. I talked about that with Alexis. So I think that forgiveness takes both ends. I have to also want you in my life, and if I don't want you in my life, I need to also say that. But I find personally that for me, it's really hard to hold on to the resentment for a long time. It's really painful for me. I don't like it. And for some people, that is something that might be really healing for them. For me, like, I can only hold on to it for so long. And so a personal goal of mine this year I decided probably like around my birthday was that I wanted to forgive my father. I kept this resolution around in my back pocket for years. And I kept saying, it was only New Year's resolution that I never kept. I'm really good at keeping New Year's resolutions, actually. But it was the only one that I think I wasn't ready for yet. And this year, I feel in a place that I'm ready for it. And for those of you who don't know, I'll say this for a little while until, we all know. I experienced a lot of neglect and abuse in my home life. And I talked about it a lot on the first podcast that I had. And I have been talking about it. It comes up because everything that I do involves some aspect of my life, because I work on authenticity a lot, which is something Raw Real Faces also works on. So you can check that out. Her Instagram handle is @RawRealFaces. If I am talented enough in editing, I will say it here. If not, it is in the description. So I think I'm ready to forgive, and so it's gonna start in pieces, right? This is something that I actually want to do. Nobody is making me feel like I have to do this. I don't want you to feel like you have to do this. You don't have to forgive anyone that you don't want to forgive. I actually want to forgive my father. There's many reasons for that, and I think I'll get into that in a different episode. But for now, that is something that I want to do. I may change my mind. You might see an episode where I'm like, I've decided I don't want to do that, and it's going to take longer than I thought. That might happen. However, I don't feel like that will happen. I think that I will feel closer and closer to it, but it is my job to be honest with you along the way. So I think I'm ready to forgive. We'll see how the journey takes me. And so I think that forgiveness happens in pieces, and I think it happens with other people also in order to get there. So we're starting with talking about my Grandma Valerie, because she's important to me, and I haven't been spending a lot of time with her, and I am sorry for that. I was moved across the country, and I know this is something my mom also has, like, hold on, let me grab something. I have ashes. No, they don't belong to anyone. This is from little rituals that I've done. Here, I've identified an ancestral wound. So, I think my mother holds a lot of guilt over not being around, and she missed. This is me, like, interpreting what I know of her. She's not told me this. We haven't spoken in a while, but when we spoke, she had mentioned feeling some sadness around not being there more when my grandmother was falling ill. So my father moved us to Maine. I'll be going there this year, pretty soon actually, and so we didn't live close to her anymore. We used to live really close. Literally, I saw her every single day. She, like I said, she basically raised me. And so every time that we would call my grandmother, she would tell us to move in with her. You know, we didn't need to worry about where we lived. We could live with her. She would love that. And she really did. If she had everything her way, we would have lived with her and not been with my father. So I think my mother probably holds on, even if it's subconsciously at this point, a lot of like guilt over not being there at the funeral. Yeah, I think that that's what it is, and I understand that. It's one of the reasons why I'm going back to Maine, right? Like, it's mostly for my siblings because I haven't seen them in a really long time, and they're not allowed to talk to me. My number is blocked on the home phone. So, I will get into that another time, I think. I'm not ready to talk about all of that stuff just yet. But, I miss them a lot. I have missed them. So, we're going to Maine. Which is really uncomfortable for me. For many reasons, but I am enthusiastic about what's coming, and I feel ready for it actually now. And I haven't felt that way before. So I'm gonna get these little suckies into their new home. That's what we're doing right now. So I'm just gonna put a bunch of baby succulents in here. So cute already. I literally only put one in there, and I'm like, my eyes have lit up. Okay. So, let's get to my grandmother again. So we'd watch The Golden Girls with her. It was something that my father hated that we did with her because it had Blanche. And Blanche was the sexually adventurous one. And that is the character that I identified with probably the most as a child. I wanted to be her. I was like, I want to be like Blanche. I love her. I think that she's so sexy. Like, I like her. I want to be like that. And I grew up really religious, so that was like, no. So I think, like, you know, that's who I wanted to be like, and I liked that character, and I wanted to be Blanche. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people did, right? If you ever watched that show, please tell me which character you wanted to be, because I sure as hell wanted to be Blanche. I'm gonna put some of these tea leaves in there. I bet the plants will like that. Someone tell me. I put coriander in here. It just felt right. So there's coriander in here. My grandmother also used to cook. And she was a really good baker, and she would always cook everything. The thing is like, I would say that she loved to cook, but I think she liked to bake. I think cooking was like a less fun thing. You know, no, she loved it, because anytime that she could do something, she was cooking. Even so much so that she, up until like her last days, she was trying to cook, like, and my uncle, she lived with my uncle, he would have to stop her because she would burn herself. She had heart attacks, and but she was still like trying to cook, so she wouldn't notice when like she was burning until it was too late. So so it was something that she couldn't do anymore towards the last days, and I think I can imagine that being like really frustrating for her. I can feel it in my body for her, because I would be like that. I would be like, you know, the things that I love, I want to do them right up until the last days. Like, Nobody stopped me. Like my eyesight, that's why I'm so, oh my God, I'm so thankful for my eyesight. I used to have glasses, and I'm really, okay, here's something that I do for myself. I'm really good at rewriting how I see things, which is why I think like, because I like to believe that everything happens for a reason. It makes me feel comfortable to be like, oh, it must have happened for a reason. And from what I have noticed, things do happen for a reason. Even the bad stuff, right? Like in hindsight, you look back and you're like, yeah, I'm glad that happened because I learned this, or I felt this, or if this wouldn't have happened, then I wouldn't have eventually done this thing, and I wouldn't be in this moment right now, and I love exactly where I am. So I kind of feel like, everything happens for a reason. Whether you believe that it is the universe, it is God, it is a higher power, it is your future self reflecting and then confirming those decisions, whatever it is, I don't know, and I would love to know. I think that it's fun to theorize these things, but I don't have answers. I just have thoughts. So thanks for listening to my thoughts. So I think that, when I was in Maine, I didn't know I needed glasses. So I had lived most of my childhood not knowing that other people could see like how I can see right now. I'm so thankful for sight. Sorry. Ooh, that was probably real loud. So sorry. The first thing I saw with glasses on was a tree. I'm looking at a tree right now. And the first time I saw the tree with my glasses on, I was floored. I was with my father, and I had just gotten glasses. They were not cute. They were not cute glasses. And I remember thinking that. Because I remembered thinking like, oh, like, I think glasses are so cute when I would see them on like TV and stuff. I'd be like, oh, people with glasses are so cute. I love that. Just like I thought people with braces were so cute. I was like, oh, cute. And I didn't know that I needed glasses. I remember like suffering in classes, and I didn't know why, and it was because I couldn't see the board. I assumed that everybody just knew how to do the thing, and nobody knew that I needed glasses. So it wasn't until I lived in Maine that I decided for myself, like, hey, I'm really upset that like I'm not doing well in Spanish, and I noticed that everybody else, because it's a language I don't know, I noticed everybody else can read the words on the board and I can't, and they don't know the language, so it's not like they can just like figure it out what it says. Like they can see something that I can't. And I was really like upset by that, and immediately I was like, I want to sit in the front of this classroom, because I had taken a seat at the back for the first time ever, because I had always just liked sitting in the front. And it wasn't until I ended up getting it was because I was put there. I'm remembering from the teacher. I was put, assigned the seat in the back of the classroom. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I can't see the board, and so I'm going to suffer learning Spanish. I wanted to learn Spanish my whole freaking life. And, like, all of a sudden, I'm sitting in this classroom, and I can't read the board. So I took my sweet little bum over to that teacher, and I was like, hey, can I get a seat in the front? And she was like, what? Why does this freshman in high school want a seat in the front of the class? So I sat in the front, and I could see the board, and I was like, okay, I need glasses. And I told my family, and I was like, I need to go see an eye doctor, and had them make me an appointment. I was lucky we had insurance at the time. Thank you, Maine, for that. So I went to the eye doctor, and so then I was in the eye doctor's since my youth, squinting and getting them right because I knew how to read, so I could figure out the letters. But if it was like another language, like say Arabic with a different alphabet, I would not be able to see. So like I had trouble with the C's and the O's and the R's and the P's and stuff because they were so close, like the inscriptions are just close. So like I might like not see the line fully, and so I'd squint. Okay, why wasn't anybody like, girl, you're not supposed to squint. Like, hold on. If you're squinting, you might need glasses. Like I don't know why nobody was like, this girl needs glasses. And part of it lies on me. Part of me is like, yeah, it's kind of hard to see that. But hey, so I was in Maine. I don't know if this will be in there. Anyway, I was in Maine, and so I finally had decided, whoa, like I need glasses. And I go in, get my eyes checked. Sure enough, I need glasses. So I get glasses for the first time. It was news to me that you had to wait for your glasses to get made. I was like, I don't get them today. What? So I continued on with my life until my glasses were ready, probably like 2 weeks later. I got these glasses on. I've only ever seen with corrective lenses in the actual eye studio, like the optometrist. So I hadn't even seen like nature or like another person's like face. So I like from far away. In high school, if you went to high school with me and you were like, why is this girl waving at me? It's because I wasn't sure if I knew you or not, because I couldn't see you. So I would have to tell by your energy, like literally like how you were walking towards me, or like the energy you gave off, and I would like hopefully get it right. Most of the time I think I did, but like, oh my god, like I needed glasses for like a long time, and how did I not know? Well, it's because I didn't know. Like I didn't know that you could see this person from far away. It wasn't until I was sitting in that Spanish class, and I was like, this homie can read that word and I can't. Like, okay, something's wrong. So I get my glasses, get in the car with my father. We're driving home, and I start crying. Because I can see a tree for the first time from far away, and I can see each leaf, and it was the most beautiful thing to me. That, oh my god, other people can see every single leaf on the tree. Like, they can see how abundant this tree is of leaves. Like, wow, like how beautiful is that? Like right now, this tree particularly has all these little like casings for seeds, and I know that because I live by this tree, obviously. So I see them on the ground, but from far away they look like tiny little berries, and they are just like so fresh. They're so precious. So yeah, I was like marveling at this tree, and it was stunning. So I said I was really good at like rewriting stories and rethinking the perspective, and I enjoy that. Like I enjoy looking at different perspectives of the same story. So, there's one perspective. Here's a way that I can write the story if I believe that everybody has good intentions behind stuff. So everybody would always ask me, you lived in near LA and your father moved you to Maine. Why did he move you to Maine? And he probably subconsciously, I don't even know if, I think he just really wanted to move somewhere else. I'm sure that for him, he wanted to escape. He felt that California was really constricting for him in some ways. That's what I am sure that he felt. But I think subconsciously he wanted to get us far away from our support system. And so, there's a version of the story, but he hasn't told me. My father doesn't talk about his emotions. So I don't know exactly. He just would tell people I like cold weather and I wanted to move to Maine. And it was a very hard transition for me. So, long story short, I moved to Maine, and I think that if I'm rewriting the story in a way that, because I'm glad I lived there, I needed to live in Maine for a lot of certain things to happen in the safest ways that they did. So I would like to think that that my father made the choice to move me to Maine so that the first tree that I would see would be one that had little tiny individual leaves, so that it was more impactful for me to see that as the first tree that I could see. And that makes me not hate my father for moving me to Maine. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. The bad things that happen don't hurt as much because I got that experience. Yeah. To have the experience of well, you'll see, because I'm going to take you with me to Maine. But, to me, that cancels out having to say goodbye to my best friend in a way that wasn't emotionally fulfilling. Because I didn't even know I was moving until, I didn't have contact with her already, So, I'm lucky I have contact with her now. So, nothing was lost, even though it was lost in the moment. Nothing was lost. And I saw a really beautiful tree for the first time. And I cried about it. And now I'm crying about it now. Welcome to a friendship with me. This is how I am. Okay, thank you. Let's get back to this. Ugh. See? Oh, there's a baby crying. Is that all of you being like, girl, stop crying? Okay, so I'm excited to go to Maine, as much as it also is gonna be really uncomfortable. I'm also excited for a lot of things. I'm excited to see people that I haven't seen in a really long time and hug them. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited you're going to meet one of my other best friends. You've met Alexis. You're going to meet D. She just moved to Maine. Isn't this beautiful cosmic circumstance? She just moved to Maine, and I had moved away from Maine, so now I'm going to go visit her and collaborate with her and do some fun things. And she is a dancer. We met each other in dance. If you follow me at Linguists of Love on Instagram, you will have definitely seen me dancing because I love to dance and do it all the time, like when I'm cooking. And that brings me back to my grandmother. Thank you, universe. So my grandma would dance while she would bake or hum. And I remember when we didn't listen to music often, we would watch a lot of musicals, but we didn't like listen to a lot of music often. I think it was hard for her to turn on like the stereo system, because you know, if you lived in like the 90s, early millennium, like getting a sound system was difficult, expensive, and most of the time somebody in the house didn't know how to use it, right? So when she would turn it on, it was always Frank Sinatra, and we would listen to Frank Sinatra, and she would like sweep, and she had this like very orange and yellow broom, and she would just sweep, and she would sing, and she would like dance with this like broom. And I do that too. I want to have fun when I'm doing things. The queen of quality time. Okay. So we'd go to Chuck E. Cheese. We would like go over to her friend's house, and we would be spending some time with her, but she would get to spend time with her friend, and we would all play games in like the backyard. And I just like, she was good at getting people to come together, and I love that about her. So like for example, her holidays were always the best. She would have these amazing holidays. I don't know how I mean, I should know. I do know how she did it, but like, it's fun to marvel at her, right? So I was lucky that I got to watch her do it because it helped me learn. So it's something that I'm really good at. I'm really good at getting people to congregate together as well, which is why I threw events for a long time. So she was so good at it, and she would throw these holidays where she would have, I don't know when she decorated though. I would just like leave one day, come back the next, and the whole house was decorated. And as we got older, like, we were able to help her decorate, like set the table, and she would set the table probably weeks before the actual holiday, because she had her certain thing. And so she would lay down the runner, the plates had to be so I learned like a lot of things about that. It's like I went to finishing school, but I didn't actually. And yeah, it was a magic time. She always made holidays really magical. She would make so much food, and I think she spent the most time on the desserts. She would know exactly what each person would want, and she would make it. Even if that person didn't come to dinner, she would have it for them. So, for example, I don't know of one person that likes mincemeat pie, but she would make it every year for one person. For one person. She would make fruit cakes for everybody, like little fruitcake loaves. And she would, I remember going with her to buy the things, and she would make the fruitcake. And I just personally didn't like the candied fruit because it was too sugary. But I'm sure her fruitcake was delicious. This is the one thing that I was like, I don't like those things. If it was made with just like dried fruit and not the candied ones, I'd probably like it. But there's a challenge for me. Make a fruit cake that I like. Was that an agreement? So, yeah, she would make these cakes, and she would make cookies. Like, she would make sugar cookies. Like, she would just like bake all the time. And she would always in the kitchen. And that's something that I've noticed about myself is like when my friends are over, like I'm itching to be in the kitchen. So if that is something I've inherited from her, at least like it's a beautiful quality that I loved about her. So I'm okay that I have that. I'm working on like setting myself up for success so that I'm not in the kitchen when people are around, because I want to spend time with you. Like I want to sit and talk with you and do those things. But my instinct is always be like, do you need something? Do you want something? What can I get for you? And I think that comes from her and my mother, because I'm sure my mother learned it from her. And yeah, she was amazing. She was a really wonderful person. And I forgive her for yelling at me to brush my teeth because I needed to. Thank you for. She would like yell at me and my sister to go brush our teeth, and we'd be so tired, exhausted, because we would have to wake up at like I say 3 in the morning. It was probably like 4:30 or 5, because we lived far away from school and her and work where my parents worked, and we would have to get up so early, so we were exhausted. So we would have breakfast and then we'd sleep on the couch until it was time to go to school, or like we would like rest. And so she would, and watch TV. And so we would probably fall asleep, and she would tell us the same time every single day to go brush our teeth. And me and my sister would like just like not want to get off of the couch. We were like, no, please. And she'd be like, go brush your teeth. So then we would go and brush them. And I'm thankful that she did, because I wasn't reminded in the same way at home. So I thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Roots. I just put down some new ones. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching me cry and reminisce and be happy. This is the greatest thing that I could ever do for myself, also in the future, and my kids. Like I think about that, like my kids will watch this one day and be like, oh, I'm so glad she did that, so we knew about my great grandmother, right? So thanks for listening. If you did, if you enjoyed me haphazardly putting little succulents into this little lantern, I thank you for the support. Thanks as always for following anything that I do. I have a podcast called Erotic Renaissance. I have an OnlyFans and a Patreon. I'm everywhere, but the hub is linguistoflove.com. So I hope that you will come find me. If not, I'll see you on Instagram at linguistoflove, LINGUIST of love. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for following my journey to home.